Well, Shabbat Shalom. I want to welcome everyone to the Sabbath Day conference call. This is Barbara, and I'm serving as your host today. And also Brother Pete said he would help with the reading. And we just want to welcome all our family and friends that are here, and those of you that are listening to the recording. We just invite everyone to go to our website, lunarsabbathday.com. It's a great source of information for the Creator's Sabbath. There's articles and videos, and much of it is historically based. It's all based on Scripture. And also go to the events page and scroll down to the bottom, and you can see the dates that we have worship on Sabbath and New Moon days, and you can fellowship with us. Today, our discussion on the original timekeeping system is, did Jehovah cause the Sabbath to be forgotten? Hosea 2:11. I will also cause all her myrrh to cease, her feast days, her new moons, and her Sabbaths, and all her solemn feasts. So he said he was going to cause them to cease. So how did the Sabbath get forgotten? Because he said, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Didn't he say to remember it? But did Jehovah forget it, or did he cause his people to forget it? Another frequently asked question is, how did the Sabbath become lost? And the answer is yes, it was lost. Lamentations 2:6 says it was lost. It says, Jehovah hath caused the solemn feast, the Moedim, and Sabbath to be forgotten in Zion. So there's two verses, Hosea 2:11 and Lamentations 2:6, that there was a time that Sabbaths were forgotten. And you know, where I was in the church I grew up in and everything, we were taught that Sabbaths were never, ever, ever forgotten all the way through. But when his people were in rebellion and in apostasy, he took the feast away from them, I think because they were mixing it with idolatry. So this theme today is explained upon in Hosea chapter 2. Here Jehovah is likening his people to an unfaithful wife who has gone whoring after other lovers. Jehovah's people have been an unfaithful bride to their Elohim. And this is all in the book of Hosea.
The prophecy of Hosea applies to Yahweh's people today. We like to quote the beautiful promises in the second half of that chapter as applying to Yahweh's people. These promises are precious. However, they must be looked at in context, and they are given in the context of Elohim's betrothed having been unfaithful to him. Therefore, the punishment is, one quote, I will also cause all her myrrh to cease, her feast days, her new moons, her Sabbaths, and all her solemn feasts. That's Hosea 2:11.
Okay, so the new moons is a clear reference to the calendar by which the Sabbaths are figured, just as it is said in Isaiah 66:23.
So Isaiah 66:23, and it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith Yahweh.
So Saturday Sabbatarians have used this text, Isaiah 66:23, to prove that the Sabbath will be kept in the new earth. In the church I came from, we use this verse so much to show people there will be Sabbaths in the new earth in heaven. So more than that, this text proves which calendar will be used throughout eternity. I don't think it's going to be a pro-Gregory Roman Catholic calendar, but I think it's going to be the calendar in the heavens. But because on the pagan solar Gregorian calendar, the new moons are not even noticed and definitely do not begin the months. And we know that the Julian calendar in 46 BC did away with the new moons on the calendar. So this verse in Isaiah 66:23 says there will be from one new moon to another and from one Sabbath to another.
It was by compromise with paganism that the early Christian church lost its apostolic purity. This opened the floodgates to all the deceptions of Satan. By not valuing and perceiving the truth, the people of Elohim lost it. When the truth of heaven is not cherished as it should be, Yahweh removes it. He caused it to be forgotten.
So Hosea 2:14 reveals just how we have forsaken our Elohim, our heavenly husband. And it is by taking the names of Baal into our mouths. That's one way we have forsaken him. And also letting the worship of Baal structure our lives.
Therefore, quote, therefore, behold, I will allure her and bring her into the wilderness and speak comfortingly unto her. And it shall be that at that day, saith Yahweh, thou shalt call me Isha, my husband, and shalt call me no more Bali. For I will take away the names of the Baalim out of her mouth, and they shall no more be remembered by their name. And in that day I will make a covenant for them, and I will betroth thee unto me forever. Yea, I will betroth thee unto me in righteousness, and in judgment, and in loving kindness, and in mercies. I will even betroth thee unto me in faithfulness, and thou shalt know Yahweh. And I will say to them, which were not my people, thou art my people. And they shall say, thou art my Elohim. That's Hosea 2:14, 16 through 20 and 23.
So he says he will take away the names of Baal out of our mouth. So the names of the weekdays on the Gregorian calendar are named after the planetary gods. I think most of us are aware of this, but we're just going to kind of go over it. In each of the ancient prophets spoke less for their own time than for ours, so that their prophesying is in force for us. Then it is vital to look at this passage in light of the modern world. No one runs around claiming to be worshipers of Baal anymore. And verse 17 gives a clue just how this is to be applied. For I will take away the names of Baal out of her mouth, and they shall no more be remembered by their name. Okay, so the names of the weekdays, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, etc., are named after planetary gods. And I have a picture of them over here, Saturn Day, the Saturn, the Sun, Odom Wednesday, Thor Thursday, Frigg for Friday, the female goddess. Of course, we have Saturn and Sunday here. Okay, and I couldn't see up in there. I've got something over that part of the screen. So, okay, here we go again.
It's a curious fact of calendar history that the pagan planetary week originally began on Saturn's day, Deus Saturni. That was the highest day of the week. It was followed by Sun's day, Dies Solis, Moon's day, Dies Lunar, etc. The pagans worshiped the 7 planetary gods in the order they thought those planets orbited in relation to the Earth. They thought that Saturn was closest to the Earth, so it held the preeminent position of importance as the first day of the planetary week.
Okay, so this is a Roman calendar that was found in the baths of Titus, and the days of the pagan planetary week are represented by the drawings. And many of you have seen this many times on the conference call, but we like to go over it again, and maybe you're new to this and you didn't know that Saturn was originally the first day of the week. Sunday, with the sun up there, was the second day, and then you had Moon Day. So it was only later that the days of the week were rearranged, with Sunday as the first day and Saturn's day as the seventh day. And Constantine did this when he changed the weekdays, and he put Saturn day on a seventh day to please the Jews, so they would have a seventh day worship. He put Sunday as day one to show it was the most important day of the sun. Okay, so, well, and we also know this, that the Gregorian months are irreparably pagan. So maybe we'll just quickly go over the names of these.
So January is derived from the Latin Januaris, which is in turn is derived from the Roman deity of portals, the patron of beginning and endings, that is Janus. February derived from Februa, the Romania, I can't say that one right, festival of purification. March, named from Mars, the Romanios deity of war. April, derived from the Latin Aprilis, indicating a time of fertility. May, named for Maya, the Romanios female deity of growth or increase. June, this name is sometimes attributed to Juno, the female deity of marriage, the wife of Jupiter in Romanios mythology. July, named for the Romanios emperor Julius Caesar. August, named for Octavius Augustus Caesar, emperor of Romanios. September, derived from the Latin septem, meaning seven. October, derived from the Latin root octo, meaning 8, and November, derived from the Latin novem, meaning 9, and December, derived from the Latin decem, meaning 10. The Father of our Savior and Master, Yeshua, has said very plainly that we are not to speak the names of pagan deities, yet here we are, calling most of the months of the year by those very names. And in all that I have said to you, give heed and make no mention of the name of other Elohim, nor let it be heard from thy mouth. That's Exodus 23:13.
Yeah, thank you for reading all those for difficult Latin and Roman and all that, but those are what the months are named after. And I am guilty. I mean, I say those names and that's what we live by. That's the calendar we live by. But
and I just did.
Yes, right. And you just did too. I made you guilty too. But okay, so go ahead up there. I can't read that part.
The months of the Gregorian year and the days of the planetary week are pagan. It is these to which the passage of Hosea is referring. When Christians arrange their lives and their worship days by a pagan planetary calendar, the names of Baalim are taken into their mouths.
So it is impossible to find the correct biblical Sabbath on a pagan Gregorian calendar. And in this, Jehovah is forgotten. When it's on a Gregorian calendar, he's forgotten. And here is I hope you're all able to see the screen, the Creator's calendar showing the Sabbath day. New Moon Day is day 1, and the Sabbaths are 8, 15, 22, 29, and also showing up there the quarter phases.
By restoring to the final generation the knowledge of his true method of calendation, Yahweh is bringing them back to the primitive godliness. He says, quote, "Therefore, behold, I will allure her and bring her into the wilderness and speak comfortably unto her." What wilderness? The answer is found in Revelation 12. Here is given a depiction of the true church, the bride of Mashiach, as a woman who has to flee into the wilderness. Quote, "And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of Yahweh, that they should feed her there 1,260 days." Revelation 12:16. That's 1,260 days.
So when the true church accepted the practices of paganism, the long night of the dark ages fell on her. And the true church fled into the wilderness, and there, after experiencing the desolation that comes from accepting other lovers, Jehovah began to lure her back. The Protestant Reformation began restoring to her the light that had been lost. The truth is an advancing truth, and we must walk in the increasing light. Jehovah will advance no faster than his people can follow. Ever since the days of the Protestant Reformation, Jehovah has been alluring his bride back to him, winning her heart to her true love by showing her his beautiful love and care for her.
Revelation 12:1 provides a fascinating symbolic description of the true church. She is standing upon the moon. Feet are the symbol of possession. That's Job 1:7 and Ruth 7:7 and 8. The significance of this text is very beautiful. Yahweh's people are once again in possession of the knowledge of the true Sabbath, and it provides her with the unassailable foundation.
I like that where it says it's the unsaleable foundation, knowing the Sabbath and that those signs are in the heavens. That's wonderful. So the knowledge of the lunar solar Sabbath is now being restored to the remnant people.
Satan's main target is Sabbath keepers. It is vitally important that the church today be aware of Satan's deceptive devices, because the final generation is charged with a special commission, a commission Satan is so desperate to keep them from doing. And that would be remembering the Sabbath day, true Sabbath day.
And then Saturday is a deception. We found out Sunday is a deception and Saturday is a double deception. So the final generation is charged with a special commission. Isaiah 58:12. "They that shall be of thee shall build the old waste places. Thou shalt raise up the foundations of many generations, and thou shalt be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of paths to dwell in."
Messiah himself, shortly before his death, also referred to this special group of people. The last chapter of the last book of the Old Testament contains this admonition. "Remember ye the law of Moses, my servant, with the statutes and judgments. Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of Yahweh. And he shall turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse." Malachi 4:4-6.
Okay, so the Elijah that was yet future to Messiah's day would do something very important. He would restore all things. Restore what things? The answer is found again in Malachi 4. "Remember ye the law of Moshe, I wanted to say, with the statutes and judgments." Verse 4. "The repairers of the breach restore the law of Moses." It's statutes, judgments, and principles of calendation.
Many people assume that the word statute applies strictly to the sacrificial offerings that were done away with at the cross. However, a careful search of Scripture reveals that the word statute is never used to apply to offering a sacrifice. On the other hand, it is frequently couched in the following phrases, quote, "It shall be a statute forever. It shall be a perpetual statute, and this shall be an everlasting statute," end quote. The work of restoration and reform carried on by the returned exiles under the leadership of Zerubbabel, Ezra, and Nehemiah presents a picture of a work of spiritual restoration that is to be wrought in the closing days of this earth's history.
Okay, so the spiritual restoration of which the work carried forward in Nehemiah's day was a symbol, and it's outlined in the words of Isaiah.
They shall build up old wastes, and they shall raise up the former desolation. They shall repair the waste cities, and they that shall be of thee shall build the old waste places. Thou shalt raise up the foundations of many generations, and thou shalt be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of paths to dwell in. Isaiah 61:4 and 58:12. The prophet here describes a people who, in a time of general departure from truth and righteousness, are seeking to restore the principles that are the foundation of the kingdom of Yahweh. They are repairers of a breach that has been made in Yahweh's law, the wall that he has placed around his chosen ones for their protection and obedience to whose precepts of justice, truth, and purity is to be their perpetual safeguard.
So, in the words of unmistakable meaning, the prophet points out the specific work of this remnant people who will build the wall. In Isaiah 58:13 and 14, it says, "If thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of Jehovah, honorable, and shall honor him, not doing thine own ways, nor finding thine own pleasure, nor speaking thine own words, then shalt thou delight thyself in Jehovah, and I will cause thee to ride upon the high places of the earth, and feed thee with the heritage of Jacob thy father, for the mouth of Jehovah hath spoken it."
In the time of the end, every divine institution is to be restored. The breach made in the law at the time the Sabbath was changed by man is to be repaired. Yahweh's remnant people standing before the world as reformers are to show that the law of Yahweh is the foundation of all enduring reform, and that the Sabbath of the fourth commandment is to stand as a memorial of creation, a constant reminder of the power of Yahweh. In clear, distinct lines, they are to present the necessity of obedience to all the precepts of the Decalogue, constrained by the love of Mashiach. They are to cooperate with him in building up the waste places. They are to be repairers of the breach, restorers of paths to dwell in.
So may Jehovah's people today restore every divine institution, including his calendar, that the beauty of his law might be displayed before the world. So I want to thank Brother Pete for reading, and everyone that's here, I thank you, and I'm going to close the recording, and everyone that's here, please stay for conversation and fellowship, and I invite others to come and fellowship with us also next time.